I thought I knew my family. I thought I knew my wife. I thought I knew my daughter. But one warm day in March, one phone call smashed all of that into pieces. When I came home and saw a moving truck in my driveway, I learned the truth in the cruelest way possible. And the worst part was not the cheating. It was not the lies. It was not even the man standing in my driveway like he owned my life. The worst part was what came after. Because once the truth came out, the people I loved most showed me exactly who they were, and I could never unsee it. For 17 years I was married to Melissa. We had a 16-year-old daughter named Quinn. Every morning, long before the sun felt warm, I got up, put on my steel-toe boots, and drove to the local car factory. I worked as a mechanical engineer on the factory floor. My job was not fancy. It was loud. It was hard. It was hot. Machines screamed all day. Oil got into everything. If one line stopped, everyone looked at me. Still, I did it without complaining. I told myself that was what a husband and father was supposed to do. I kept a roof over our heads. I kept the lights on. I paid the bills. I showed up for Quinn when she needed rides, money, or help with school things. I believed that if I stayed steady, if I stayed loyal, if I did my job as a man, my family would be safe. I was wrong. That day started like every other day. I was halfway through my shift, covered in grease, bent over a machine that had been acting up all week. My hands were deep inside the side panel, checking a broken part for the second time, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it. I figured it was junk mail, a spam call, or maybe Quinn asking if I could pick her up later. But when I pulled out my phone and saw the name on the screen, my stomach tightened. It was Nate, our neighbor. Nate never called me during work. Never. He was the kind of man who only picked up the phone if something mattered. So the second I saw his name, a cold feeling moved through my chest. I answered fast. Yeah. I said, still trying to focus on the machine. What's up? Nate's voice was tight. Too tight. Ethan, you need to get home. Right now. I stopped moving. The sound of the factory seemed to fade for a second. Why? I asked. What happened? He took a breath like he had been running. There's a moving truck in your driveway. A couple of guys are carrying furniture out of your house. Melissa is out there telling them what to take. For 1 second I honestly thought I heard him wrong. A moving truck? I repeated. What are you talking about? I'm serious, Nate said. They're loading up your stuff. Chairs, boxes, tables. Melissa is pointing at things and directing them. My fingers closed so hard around my phone that my knuckles turned white. Are you sure they're not thieves? Maybe somebody broke in? Nate lowered his voice. I don't think so. This doesn't look random. She's calm, Ethan. Too calm. She's acting like this is planned. My heart started pounding so hard it hurt. Where's Quinn? I asked at once. Did you see Quinn? No, he said. I haven't seen your daughter. Just Melissa and some guy I don't know. Some guy. That made everything worse. I could feel the blood rushing in my ears. My mind was already running through terrible thoughts. Were we being robbed? Was Melissa leaving me? Had something happened with Quinn? Was she safe? Why would there be a moving truck in the middle of the day? Why would my wife be carrying out furniture while I was at work? All right, I said, my voice sharp now. I'm leaving. If you see anything else, call me back. If the police show up, tell them I'm on my way. I hung up and just stood there for half a second, frozen. Then the anger kicked in. I yanked my hands out of the machine and walked fast across the floor. Grease was still on my arms. My shirt was dirty. My boots hit the concrete hard as I headed straight for my boss's office. I did not knock. I shoved the door open and stepped inside. He looked up with a frown. You better have a good reason for barging in here like that, Ethan. There's an emergency at my house, I said. My neighbor just called. There's a moving truck in my driveway and people are taking furniture out of my home. I don't know what's going on, but I need to leave now. His face changed. He knew me. I was not a man who caused scenes. I was not a man who made excuses. So when he looked at me and saw real panic in my face, his anger dropped. Go, he said. Don't waste time. I was already turning before he finished talking. I ran through the parking lot, pulled out my keys and jumped into my car. My heart felt like it was slamming against my ribs. My hands shook as I started the engine. I backed out too fast, tires screaming, and shot out of the lot like I was trying to outrun a fire. The whole drive home felt unreal. Part of me kept trying to make sense of it. Maybe there was some weird mistake. Maybe Melissa was moving old junk into storage. Maybe Quinn knew about it. Maybe there was some explanation that would make this all seem stupid later. But deeper down, I already knew something awful was waiting for me. Because Nate never joked. And Melissa had been acting strange for months. We had not been screaming at each other every night. That was the strange part. There had been no huge blow-up. No big warning. No clear sign that our marriage was dead. Sure, we argued sometimes. Married people do that. We snapped at each other about money, time, chores, stupid little things. But after nearly 2 decades together, I thought that was normal. I thought we were solid enough to survive the rough patches. I was wrong about that too. When I turned onto our street, I saw it right away. A large white moving truck was parked in my driveway. The sight of it made something hot and sick twist inside me. It was real. This was real. My home was being emptied in broad daylight while I was at work. I parked hard, threw the car into place, and jumped out before the engine was even fully quiet. My front yard looked like a crime scene. The front door was open. 2 movers were carrying out my coffee table like it meant nothing. Another man stood near the truck with his arms folded, giving directions like he was in charge. Like my life belonged to him. "Hey!" I shouted as I charged toward them. "Put that down right now." The tall man turned and looked at me. He did not look scared. He did not look surprised. He looked annoyed. Then he gave me one hard, ugly glance and said low and cold, "Mind your own damn business." That was it. That was the spark. I did not think. I did not count to 10. I did not ask questions. My fist moved before my brain caught up. I slammed it straight into his jaw. His head snapped to the side and he crashed onto the driveway with a horrible sound. The movers stopped. The man on the ground let out a grunt and tried to roll away, but I was already on him. Rage had taken over. It was no longer just about the truck. It was no longer just about the furniture. It was about my home, my marriage, my life, and this stranger standing in the middle of it like he had every right. I grabbed his shirt and hauled him partway up. "You think you can steal from me?" I roared. I hit him again. His face jerked. He raised his arms to shield himself, but I hit his shoulder, then his cheek. He cried out and tried to curl in on himself. I could hear myself breathing like an animal. My hands were shaking with fury. I pulled out my phone, clumsy with adrenaline, and dialed for help. The operator answered quickly. "Come." Too calm for the storm inside me. "Sir, do you need police or an ambulance?" "Police?" I snapped. "No. There's a thief at my house." The operator started telling me to step away and wait in a safe place. I hated how soft and careful the voice sounded. I was beyond careful. Then I heard Melissa scream. "Ethan, what the hell are you doing?" I turned. She was running across the driveway toward us, her face white, her hair flying, her voice full of panic. She shoved at my shoulder and dropped to her knees beside the man on the ground. Blood was running from his nose. A bruise was already rising along his jaw. And then she said the words that changed everything. "Derek. Oh my God, Derek, stay still." I stared at her. Then at him. Then back at her. My mouth went dry. "Derek." I said. "Who the hell is Derek?" Melissa looked up at me, angry and wild and shaking. "He's my boyfriend, okay?" she shouted. "You didn't have to attack him like some kind of thug." Boyfriend. The word hit me harder than any punch. For a second I could not breathe. 17 years. A daughter together. A whole life built side by side. And she was kneeling in my driveway, crying over another man, calling him her boyfriend while my furniture sat half-loaded into a truck behind them. Derek groaned and rolled onto one side, holding his ribs. I looked down at him, then back at Melissa. My brain was trying to catch up, but my heart was already breaking and exploding at the same time. "You're my wife," I said, my voice low and shaking. "And you bring your boyfriend to my house to steal from me?" He looked up at me with fear in his eyes. I kicked him. Hard. My boot hit him between the legs and he folded with a scream. Melissa shrieked. "Ethan, stop. Stop. You're going to kill him." But I was gone. Gone past reason. Gone past pain. Gone past dignity. Every lie, every late night, every cold look, every strange mood, every little thing I had ignored came crashing together inside me. I kicked him again. He curled tighter, choking on the pain. The movers stood there like they had just found front row seats to the craziest show of their day. Neither of them stepped in. Neither of them tried to help. Then the sound of sirens tore through the street. 2 police cars pulled up fast. Doors opened. Officers jumped out and moved in with their hands ready. One of them, a big man with a hard face, got between me and Derek at once. "Back up, sir," he barked, pushing a hand toward my chest. I was breathing so hard my vision felt blurry. For one ugly second I almost shoved him too. But some last piece of sense reached me. I stepped back. Derek rolled onto his back and groaned. Melissa was still kneeling beside him, trembling. "I'm the one who called," I said through my teeth. "They're stealing my property." The officer looked at me, then at Melissa, then at the truck. "Ma'am," he said, "tell me what's happening." Melissa took a shaky breath and straightened a little. "This is Derek Stone," she said. "He's my boyfriend. We were taking some things from the house. Things that belonged to me." I laughed once. It was sharp and ugly. "Things that belong to you?" The officer looked at her carefully. "Have you filed for divorce?" Melissa went still. That silence said everything. The officer's face hardened. "Have you filed for a legal separation?" She looked away. "No." He gave a slow nod. "Then you cannot just remove furniture and household property without an agreement. If your husband wants to press charges, this could become theft." I will never forget the look on Melissa's face then. She had not thought that far. She thought she could just show up, grab what she wanted, and walk away because she felt entitled to it. Because in her mind, feeling justified was the same as being right. "It's my home too," she snapped. "I've lived there for years. I raised my daughter there." The officer did not move. "That may be true. But do you have legal permission to remove these items right now?" "No," she muttered. He sighed. "Then here's what's going to happen. You may take your personal clothing and personal items. Nothing else. The furniture goes back in the house. If you refuse, we can file charges." Melissa's whole face twisted. "That's ridiculous. He should be the one leaving. He's always been controlling. I deserve this house." I stepped forward before I could stop myself. "The house belongs to my mother," I said. "Your name isn't on the deed. You have no claim to it." Melissa snapped toward me. "Screw you, Ethan. I gave the best years of my life to this family. I cleaned that house. I raised Quinn there. It's mine too." The officer finally lost patience. "Ma'am, enough. The deed matters. The law matters. Your feelings do not change that. Either you follow instructions or this gets worse." She stood there shaking with rage, eyes wet, jaw tight. Then she turned toward the movers and shouted, "Fine. Bring it all back in." They lifted their hands like they wanted nothing to do with any of it, then slowly started carrying things back into the house. I watched them with my arms crossed, my whole body still buzzing with anger. The officer looked at me. "Do you want to press charges?" I stared at Melissa, at Derek, at the truck, at the life I thought I had. Then I said cold and flat, "No. Just get her out of here. I don't care where she goes. I just want her gone." Melissa looked at me like I had stabbed her. Maybe part of me had. She marched inside to gather her clothes while another officer stayed near the doorway. Derek slowly pushed himself up and leaned against the truck, holding his side like every breath hurt. His lip was split. One eye was swelling. For half a second I almost felt sorry for him. Then I remembered he had been standing in my driveway directing men to carry away my furniture. The pity vanished. About 10 minutes later, Melissa came back out dragging 2 suitcases. Her face was red, but her eyes had gone hard. She stomped across the porch toward the driveway like she was the injured one in all of this. I lifted a hand. "Open them." She stopped and turned. "What?" "Open the suitcases." Her face filled with disgust. "Seriously? You think I'm stealing?" I gave a bitter laugh. "At this point? Yes." One of the officers gave her a tired look. "Ma'am, just open them." Her hands shook as she yanked open the first suitcase. "Clothes. Makeup." Then I noticed something under a sweater. I reached in and pulled it out. My laptop. I held it up between us. "What is this doing in your bag?" Her eyes flicked away. "I needed it. I have files on there." "Do you?" I pulled out the charger too. "You want a laptop? Ask your boyfriend to buy you one. You are not taking mine." Behind her, Derek muttered under his breath, "Melissa, let's just go." She spun around and glared at him, but she said nothing. That silence told me plenty. Her brave little fantasy was already cracking. The officers waited until the movers finished putting the furniture back inside. Then they watched as Melissa shoved her clothes back into the suitcases, grabbed the handles, and walked away without another word. Derek hobbled after her, bent over, one hand around his ribs. The moving truck pulled out. The police left. The street went quiet again. And suddenly the quiet was worse than the shouting. I walked back into the house and stood in the middle of the living room. Chairs were crooked. The rug was twisted. There were scrape marks on the floor where furniture had been dragged. Boxes sat open near the wall. The whole place felt bruised. That was the moment it really hit me. My wife had tried to leave me in the middle of the day. With another man. With a moving truck. While I was at work. I looked around at the mess and felt something inside me cave in. For years, I had believed I was holding a family together. Now I stood in the wreckage and realized I had been the only one still trying. I tried to clean up. I picked up a chair and set it straight. Moved a box. Smoothed the rug. But my hands would not stop shaking. My throat felt tight. My head pounded. After a minute, I gave up and dropped onto the couch. I sat there with my elbows on my knees and my hands over my face. How long had she been cheating? How long had she been lying to me? How many times had she smiled at me, sat across from me, slept beside me while she was already somewhere else in her heart? I wanted answers. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash every glass in the house. But more than anything, I wanted one person to still be mine. Quinn. Whatever Melissa had done, Quinn was my daughter. Surely she would be on my side. Surely she would see how wrong this was. About an hour later, I heard the front door open. I looked up and saw Quinn stepping inside with her school bag over one shoulder. She stopped dead when she saw the room. The half-moved furniture. The open boxes. The marks on the floor. Her eyes widened. "Dad, what happened?" My voice felt tight. "Sit down." She did. She dropped her bag by the chair and sat slowly on the edge of the couch across from me. I studied her face, looking for shock, fear, confusion, hurt. Something. Anything. Then I said it. "Your mother left. She ran off with her boyfriend." There was a pause. Then Quinn shrugged. "Oh," she said. "You mean Derek?" I felt like the air had been punched out of me. "You know him?" She looked down and played with the strap of her bag. "Mom introduced us a while ago. She said he was someone she used to love a long time ago. From when they were young. She said they never got over each other." I just stared at her. She kept going almost casually. "He came back into town. They started talking again. That's all." "That's all?" I repeated. She looked at me like I was being dramatic. "Mom told me it was her business. She said not to involve you." And, she hesitated. I wanted her to be happy. Those words cut deeper than I expected. "You wanted her to be happy," I said slowly. "Even if that meant lying to me?" Quinn lifted one shoulder. "You and Mom were never really happy together. Not like that. You weren't romantic. You barely acted in love. Maybe she just wanted something real." Something inside me went hard. I stared at my own daughter and saw, for the first time, how much of Melissa's voice had gotten into her. Not just the words. The attitude. The judgment. The easy way she could make my pain sound small. "So that makes this okay?" I asked. "Sneaking around? Cheating? Trying to steal half the house?" "She wasn't stealing," Quinn said quickly. "She was taking things she deserved." I let out a sharp laugh. "Did she tell you that too?" Quinn's face tightened. "She said you always held everything over her head. The house. The money. The fact that your mom owns the place. She said you controlled everything." "Controlled everything?" I snapped. "Did she tell you I paid every bill on time? Did she tell you how much I spent on your school activities? On your clothes? On your hobbies? Did she mention I worked myself half to death so this family could live comfortably while I wore the same pair of boots for 3 years?" Quinn pressed her lips together, but she did not back down. "Still," she said quietly, "Mom deserves to be with someone she loves." That sentence broke something in me. Years of driving her to practice. Sitting through school events. Paying for lessons. Fixing her things. Helping her. Being there. And now she was sitting in my house telling me her mother deserved better than me. I got up so fast the couch creaked. "Fine," I said. Quinn frowned. "What do you mean, fine?" I walked to the liquor cabinet, opened it, and pulled out the whiskey. My hands were still shaking, but now the shaking felt colder. "It means," I said as I poured a drink, "if your mother wants her true love so badly, she can have him. And if you think she's right, then you can have them both." Quinn stood up. "Dad, that's not fair." I threw back the whiskey in one burning gulp. "Fair?" I laughed bitterly. "That word means nothing to me today." She crossed her arms over her chest. "I'm just telling you how I see it. Mom said you two stayed together because it was easy. Because it was safe. Not because it was love." I slammed the glass onto the counter. "And you believed her." Her face softened just a little. "I wanted her to be happy." "And what about me?" I asked. The room went quiet. That silence was answer enough. I nodded slowly. "That's what I thought." Quinn looked nervous now, like maybe she was finally seeing how deep this went. "Dad, I didn't mean." "I don't care what you meant," I cut in. "From now on, I'm done carrying people who would not even stop to see if I was drowning." She stared at me. "What are you going to do?" I poured another drink. "I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to cut away the dead weight." And I'm going to watch everyone make their own choices without me cleaning up the mess. Her eyes filled with hurt. That's cold, is it? I said. You didn't think it was cold when you sat there and told me your mother was right to cheat on me. Quinn flinched. For 1 second I thought maybe she would apologize. Maybe she would run to me. Maybe she would cry and say she had made a mistake. Instead she took a step back. You're angry. I get it. But Mom still deserves happiness. I turned away from her because I could not stand to look at her anymore. Then go live in that happiness, I said. I'm done. She stood there for another second, breathing hard. Then she grabbed her bag and stormed off to her room. A moment later her bedroom door slammed so hard the wall shook. I stayed in the kitchen, staring at nothing. The whole world I thought I had built had fallen apart before dinner. That night I barely slept. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every second. Nate's phone call. The moving truck. Derek's face. Melissa saying boyfriend. Quinn already knowing. The cold little shrug. By morning the shock had turned into something sharper. A plan. I left early and went straight to a divorce lawyer named Victor Kane. Strange name. Sharp man. He was the kind of lawyer who smiled when other people got nervous. When I told him what had happened, that smile widened. She tried to move furniture out before filing? He asked. Yes. With her boyfriend there? Yes. He leaned back in his chair. That helps us. I don't care about helping, I said. I want this done fast. I want it done hard. I don't want to give her $1 more than the law forces me to give. Victor folded his hands. All right. Then let's talk facts. Marriage length, income, property, custody. We went through everything piece by piece. It felt ugly. Like cutting up the body of my old life into legal parts. House ownership. Joint account. Savings. Retirement. Insurance. Quinn. When he asked about custody, I did not even pause. Give Melissa full custody. Victor looked up. You're sure? Yes. She's 16, he said carefully. Judges often prefer shared arrangements unless there's a strong reason. She chose her mother, I said. Let her have her. Victor studied me for a second. And you? I'll pay standard child support until she turns 18, I said. Nothing more. He tapped his pen once. You understand how this may look? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I stopped caring about how things looked the moment I found my wife's boyfriend in my driveway. He nodded slowly and wrote it down. Then he said, Melissa may still ask for extra money after divorce. She makes almost what I make, I said. If she wants to split retirement, then mine gets half of hers too. If she wants war, she gets war. Victor gave a small smile. Now you're talking like someone I can work with. When I left his office, I did not feel better. I felt colder. That same day, I went to the bank and emptied our joint account. I left exactly $2 in it. Childish? Maybe. But at that moment, it felt right. It felt like the perfect picture of what she had left me with. Then I went to human resources at work and took Melissa off my insurance. Off my benefits. Off everything that depended on me. Each form I signed felt like another door shutting. A clean cut. 2 days later, Melissa got served at her job. She called me almost at once. The second I answered, she exploded. How dare you, she screamed. I leaned back in my chair at work and kept my voice calm. How dare I what? You emptied the account. You took my name off your insurance. You filed for divorce without even talking to me. I closed my eyes for a second and let her rant. Her anger sounded wild, but underneath it I could hear fear. You left me, I said when she finally paused. You showed up with another man in a moving truck. What exactly did you expect me to do? Her breathing was rough. I was your wife. Not anymore. You owe me, she snapped. I almost laughed. No. I owe bills, taxes, and one last legal fight. I do not owe you loyalty after what you did. You think you can just throw me away after 17 years? You already threw me away, I said. I'm just making the paperwork match. She went quiet for a beat. Then her voice dropped lower. The court will give me half. Of what? I asked. We earn almost the same. If you want half of my retirement, I get half of yours. If you want to split savings, yours gets split too. And don't forget there's a police report about you trying to clean out the house before filing. Sound. You bastard. I hung up. For the first time since all of this began, I smiled. Court day came fast. Melissa showed up with her lawyer, Denise Carter. Denise had the voice of someone used to sounding important. She stood tall, spoke smoothly, and tried to paint Melissa as the loyal wife who had been deeply wronged. My client spent 17 years in this marriage, she told the judge. She supported the home. She raised the child. She deserves her fair share. Victor stood beside me and waited calmly until it was his turn. Then he walked the judge through every ugly fact. Melissa had a stable job. Melissa earned close to what I earned. Melissa had tried to remove household property before filing. The police had intervened. There was no legal agreement allowing her to take anything. And if there was going to be a split, it would go both ways, including retirement and savings. The judge listened without much emotion, but I could see his patience wearing thin with every excuse. Then came the part about extra support after divorce. Denise tried to argue that Melissa had given years to the family and should be compensated. Victor shut it down with numbers. Income, employment, police report, equal earning power. The judge looked at Melissa over his glasses. Do you have any reason to believe you are financially dependent on your husband? Melissa opened her mouth, then closed it. That answer was no. Then came custody. Denise said Quinn should remain with her mother. Victor said, my client agrees. He is willing to give full custody and pay only standard child support until the child reaches legal age. The courtroom went still. Melissa turned and stared at me. And then Quinn, who had been sitting behind her, stood up halfway in her seat with tears already filling her eyes. She had not expected that. Maybe she thought I would fight for her no matter what she said to me. Maybe she thought fathers were supposed to stay soft forever, no matter how badly they were treated. Dad? She whispered. I did not look at her. The judge asked if there was a problem. Quinn stepped forward, trembling. She looked so young then. Not like the cool, sure girl who had sat on my couch and defended her mother. This was just a scared child. I didn't think, she began. I didn't think he would really let me go. My chest tightened, but I stayed still. The judge asked if she wanted to speak. Quinn nodded and started crying. She said she had only wanted her mother to be happy. She said she had not meant for things to get this bad. She said she did not want to lose her dad. The words came out broken and wet and shaking. For a second the room blurred. Victor, doing his job, asked careful questions. Hard questions. Did she know about the boyfriend? Yes. Did she choose not to tell me? Yes. Had she defended her mother's affair? Yes. Did she understand how that might have hurt me? Now she did. Quinn was openly sobbing by then. I'm sorry, she cried. Dad, please. I'm sorry. I kept my face hard. Because if I looked at her then, really looked, I might have broken. The judge looked tired of all of us by the end. He moved quickly after that. No extra support for Melissa. Standard child support for Quinn until 18. Division based on the law, not feelings. Finished. One bang of the gavel. 17 years ended in a sound that lasted less than a second. Outside the courtroom, Quinn was crying so hard she could barely speak. Melissa looked pale and angry, like she still could not believe things had not gone her way. Derek was nowhere in sight. He had not even shown up for her. That made me feel a dark little thrill. The great love story she had burned her family for was already looking weak. I walked away without saying a word. Dad. Quinn called after me. I kept walking. Her voice cracked behind me. It followed me all the way to the parking lot, and every step felt heavier than the last. But I did not turn around. If she wanted the truth, here it was. Choices cost something. In the weeks that followed, things only got uglier. Melissa had wanted Quinn, but it turned out wanting a daughter and handling a hurting, angry teenager full-time were not the same thing. My mother, Helen Brooks, ended up taking Quinn in more often than not. Helen did not approve of Melissa's mess, but she loved her granddaughter too much to let the girl drift. I saw Quinn now and then. At my mother's house. In passing. On difficult weekends. Each time, she looked at me with red eyes and hope that made me uncomfortable. Dad, she would say softly, can I come live with you again? And each time I told her no. She would cry. I would leave. My mother would look at me with disappointment she did not bother hiding. But I stayed hard. Maybe that was cruel. Maybe it was the only way I knew how to survive. Then came the day Quinn burst into my house with her face white and wet. She did not knock. She just rushed in, breathing hard, eyes huge. Dad, she said, almost choking on the word, Derek beat Mom. He beat her so badly she's in the hospital. He got arrested. I stared at her. Then, to my own surprise, I laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because it was bitter. Well, I said, I didn't see that coming. But I can't say I'm shocked. Quinn looked horrified. How can you say that? I leaned back in my chair and rubbed my jaw. I lived with your mother for 17 years. She knows how to push people. The second the words left my mouth, I saw how much they hurt her. She looked at me like I had become someone she did not know. Maybe I had. Mom could have died, she whispered. I shrugged, though the motion felt heavy. Sorry, kid. I'm out of sympathy. She just stood there, stunned, tears running down her face. And part of me hated myself for not reaching for her. But a louder part remembered every time they had left me bleeding inside and called it justified. So I stayed where I was. Melissa survived. That was what I heard through Quinn and my mother and bits of town gossip. Derek stayed in jail after the assault. Melissa came home from the hospital bruised, shaken, and suddenly very alone. The romance she had wrecked her life for had turned into a nightmare. I should have felt sorry for her. I mostly felt grim satisfaction. Months passed. I rebuilt my life one hard piece at a time. I worked. I paid what the court ordered. I kept the house. I learned how quiet evenings could be. I started seeing a woman from work named Monica. She was direct, sharp, not very soft, and at that point I liked that. She did not ask me to heal. She did not ask me to forgive. She just sat across from me, drank with me, laughed at dark jokes, and accepted the rough edges I no longer bothered hiding. Meanwhile, Melissa drifted in and out of Quinn's life. Sometimes she apologized. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she tried to act like she could still fix things. But the damage was everywhere. Quinn was stuck between broken adults, carrying pain that did not fit in a 16-year-old heart. She spent most of her time at my mother's place, trying not to drown in all of it. That should have been the end. But it wasn't. Because one morning before the sun was fully up, someone pounded on my front door so hard it rattled the frame. I rolled out of bed angry and half asleep. The clock said just before 7. My hair was a mess. My mouth was dry. I walked to the door already ready to curse whoever was stupid enough to wake me up that early. Then I opened it. Quinn stood there. Melissa stood behind her. Quinn's eyes were red and swollen. Melissa looked terrible. Pale. Tired. Hair messy. Face drained of pride. She would not even meet my eyes at first. Dad, Quinn said at once, her voice shaking. We need to talk. I frowned. Now. It's barely morning. What is it? Melissa swallowed hard. We're in trouble. I folded my arms and leaned against the frame. Trouble with what? Another boyfriend? Quinn looked down. Melissa took a breath that sounded like it hurt. Derek is still in jail, she said. But I'm pregnant. Everything inside me went still. What? Quinn closed her eyes like she was bracing for impact. Melissa's lips trembled. I'm pregnant. I stared at her stomach, then at her face. She was not showing yet. But the fear in her eyes looked real enough to choke on. How do you know it's his? I asked. That was when she broke even more. I don't, she whispered. My skin went cold. What do you mean you don't? She shut her eyes for 1 second, then forced herself to speak. A few months before everything blew up, you and I had that one night. We were both upset. We were both drinking. It happened. And around that same time, I was also with Derek. I felt like the floor shifted under me. There had been one stupid, weak, messy night near the end of our marriage. A night I had pushed out of my mind because it felt like leftover pain, not love. And now she was standing on my porch telling me there was a baby and she did not know if it was mine or his. I laughed once, but it sounded sick. You came here at dawn to tell me this? Quinn grabbed my arm. Dad, please listen. I looked down at her hand and said nothing. She kept talking fast, desperate. Mom is scared. Derek threatened her before he got arrested. If he gets out and finds out she's pregnant, he could come after her. She's drowning in bills. She's behind on rent. Grandma can't take both of us. We don't know what to do. Melissa finally looked at me then. I almost wished she had not. There was shame in her face. Real shame. And fear. And regret so deep it made her look older. I know I hurt you, she said quietly. I know I ruined everything. But I don't have anyone else. My parents want nothing to do with me after all this. I can't keep up with rent. I can't sleep. I don't know if this baby is yours or Derek's, and I'm terrified. My anger came back so fast it was dizzying. Not my problem, I said. Quinn's fingers tightened on my sleeve. Dad. No, I said, looking at Melissa. You should have thought about all of this before you climbed into another man's bed. Melissa flinched like I had slapped her. Quinn burst into tears. Dad, please. He's dangerous. Mom is alone, she's pregnant, and I'm stuck bouncing between places. I miss living with you. I know I was wrong. I know I messed up. Please let us come in. Please. I looked at my daughter. Really looked. She was shaking. Her face was wet. She looked exhausted. Afraid. Broken in a way children should never be broken. And behind her stood the woman who had burned down our family and was now standing in the ashes, asking me for shelter from the fire she had started. My chest hurt, because part of me still loved them. That was the truth I hated most. There had been a time when I would have done anything for Melissa. A time when Quinn climbing into my arms could heal any bad day. Even now, with all the damage, some weak old piece of me wanted to pull them both inside and lock the world out. But then memory came roaring back. Melissa in my driveway beside Derek. Quinn on my couch saying her mother deserved real love. Quinn in court crying only when she realized I might truly let go. All that pain stacked up inside me until it crushed whatever softness tried to rise. What exactly do you expect? I asked. That I open the door and pretend none of this happened? That I welcome you both back like we're some big happy family again? Melissa shook her head, tears spilling now. No. I know I don't deserve that. I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I'm asking anyway. Why? I said. Because your dream man turned into a monster? Because now life is hard. She lowered her head. Yes. At least that answer was honest. Quinn looked up at me through tears. Dad, if the baby is yours, then that's your child. And even if it isn't, I'm still your daughter. We need you. The words landed deep. For a second I could not speak. The baby was mine. That thought opened a whole new wound. I looked past them into the early morning light. The street was still quiet. The air felt cold. My hand tightened on the edge of the door until my fingers hurt. I need time, I said at last. Quinn blinked. What? I need time to think. Her face crumpled. Dad, no. Please. We can't.